And if you don't know me, I'm a northerner, like Glenn, but from the other coast. He's on the east coast, I'm on the west coast, so we sound a little bit different. 20 years in New Zealand, so I've got a really strange accent. Bit Kiwi, bit Pommy. But it's not about my accent, it's about the IPC and why we're all here. So first of all, the most important man in the room, who is so low-key, low vibes, doesn't like to make it about himself. You know why we're all here. Glenn Marsden. Put your hands together. I want to take this opportunity to make sure that you know how you have affected this community, how you've built it, what you've done for all of us, things that we'll probably never be able to put into words. They'll just be feelings that we've each felt, opportunities you've presented for people, lives that you've turned around, mindsets that you've changed. Yeah, I'm going to make you cry. That's my job. But you truly will never understand the magnitude of the magic that you've made happen in people's lives. So from my little heart to you, thank you. Thank you. I love a screamer. Who was that? We'll get you to go again. Yay, there we go, front row. I've been trying to make my way around the desks doing that cold, awkward talk to strangers thing. So hands up if I spoke to you. Yay, thank you. If I've not spoken to you, I'm sorry, I'll get round there later. Isn't it lovely to be in a room where we've got something in common? Right now, when the world is so damn divided about so many things. I mean, right now we're talking about, was the halftime show at Super Bowl fun? You know, that was the one thing we all could agree on. You know, yes, it was amazing. But we're all in this room because of the Imperfectly Perfect campaign. Something that I want to share a little bit about my story. Yeah, so I work in the fitness industry. I just love fitness. And that's what I got involved in many, many years ago because workouts were boring, but the stuff that I wanted to do felt fun. And I think I made the hard stuff fun for people. And fortunately, they've allowed me to keep doing it for a few years. Yes, thanks Beck. Thanks Fiona. Yes. And I'm really lucky to have one of those jobs that, you know, you finish work and you feel like you can put your head on your pillow and feel really good about the work that you've done. But I want to take my hat off to every single author that has put time and effort into these books, because when you put your head on those pillows, you can be very proud about the work and the contribution that you've made to people that you'll never hear from. Isn't that crazy when you think about it? I know that you're all here to support those authors today, and I'm sure that you're sitting squirming in your chairs wondering like, oh, wow. But the truth of the matter is we're all making a difference in our own backyards. But it's something like this when you come to realize just how far your story can go and who it could affect. There'll be people that you won't even meet, people that you won't even get to have that conversation with, that will be reading the chapters and the words in your books and thinking, I feel seen. I feel like I'm valued. I feel like I'm not isolated. I feel like, actually, I think if they can do it, I can do it. Hands up if you've watched somebody, listened to somebody and thought, if they can do it, I can do it. Great. This is great. This leads me on to the next thing. So I was watching airplane things, you know, on the plane. And Superman, I grew up when Superman was the man. I mean, he still is, right? He's still Superman. Depends on which Superman, though. I do quite like Henry Cavill. Christopher Reeve. Yes, the OG. Yeah. And how powerful the difference he made to a group of us that grew up in the 80s that needed a hero. And he stepped into the role of being this hero in movies at a time when movies are the social glue, the thing that common ground that we all sat down and watched and talked about at work and at school and in teams and admired the values and the qualities. And the most crazy thing happened to him. He made a documentary, and in this documentary, he described how he was doing a movie just before he became a quadriplegic. And in that movie, he played a paralyzed returned services person, so somebody that served in the army, and he was playing the role of somebody that was paralyzed. And he said, I was taught all of these things, how to, you know, roll over, how to get in the chair as if I was paralyzed. He said, and I didn't really understand it. And every time I left the set, I thought, Thank God that's not me. Sitting on the plane, tears in my eyes, like next to two guys going, oh, sorry. Isn't that? It's the altitude, right? The altitude makes it worse. It's the pressure, the air pressure. And he said, and then shortly after that, I fell off my horse and my whole life changed. He said, I had to experience catastrophic trauma to really appreciate what I had. Which brings me to mental health, right? We don't know what we've got till it's not there. And then in that moment, that isolated, potentially catastrophic moment to somebody, suddenly you think, wow, does anybody else feel like me? Exactly. Yes, thank you, Beck. And Glenn was that person for me in 2019 when I saw him take these pictures in a world where social media was just beautiful, constantly. Beautiful. And then Glenn came along and just pulled everything back and went, by the way, it's not all great out there. And I just gravitated to him and this is real. This is real, cutting through something that is so superficial. And we feel like we're going this direction, but it doesn't feel right. But this does. And yet, here I am, how many years later, 6 years later, talking about mental health, something that my parents and my grandparents would never have spoken about. Just would never. Never. It's just not a thing. And yet, 3 generations later, I'm standing here so comfortably talking about my mental health experience in the fitness industry, health and fitness, going, it didn't feel healthy. It was affecting me mentally. And I couldn't talk about it until Glenn came along and said, hey, you should talk about it if you want. So I did. And how good does it feel to connect with people that share the same experiences or understand you? So good. In my job, we practice picking up heavy things, right? How heavy can the pump bar be? How heavy can the barbell be? You know what? You should put more weight on that bar. Why? Reps, sets. It's good for you. I was talking to these boys before about training, and I said, what did you train today? They said glutes. My next question was going to be, what exercises did you do? But I moved on. You know, I didn't want to get cornered. Work talk. But we practice picking up heavy things, and we do it physically because we have accepted that if we pick something up that's heavy, we're going to improve. Do you know what's heavy? Life. It's really hard to pick yourself up. And resisting the heavy stuff is actually what we're getting better at doing by building that mental strength, not just physical strength. And I love that for us. I love that for my generation and for the next generations that are coming along, because now we know better, we can be better. Sometimes, in fact, a lot right now, if you put the news on, it feels heavy. And I was thinking, do you know what's heavy? Hate. Hate is heavy. Do you know what's light? Love. I didn't even need to give myself goof, but I didn't even need to say it. It's so obvious. So what is the antidote to hate? Love. It's love. What is the hardest thing to do? We got TV shows all about it. Married at First Sight. You must watch it, Fiona. You must watch it. Right? It's the hardest thing to do because you have to be vulnerable. And this whole campaign was built on vulnerability. The thing that we know that is so helpful. The thing that we need to run towards, I can say we're taking steps towards. That's what I can say. That's what feels really, really good about 2025. We're taking steps towards vulnerability, recognizing that the thing that we can do that feels really good is love. Pour love on it. So given the opportunity to stand here and talk to a room full of semi-strangers, some, not some, I thought, what's that message? What do I need to hear? What would I want to walk out of there hearing? And it's just choose love. Not when it's easy, but when it's hard. That's what I've learned. That's what I wrote about in my chapter. It's doing the thing that's really, really hard, which is sometimes pouring love on somebody that really doesn't deserve it. In your ego brain. But in your soulful brain, the person that is the worst person to be around is the most in need of that love. So, more mental strength enables us to pour more love on something, because only a strong person can be gentle. Was it King Kong that picked up that little lady in his hand? You know, I know it's not real, but but it was a metaphor for true strength. You know, I can crush you. I could literally crush you in a moment, but I'm choosing not to because of the common ground that we have. And my hope for the future is for the IPC to be that glue that is the common ground, that enables us to find the similarities, to find the familiarity within each other, to be able to step forward at the hard time, not the easy time, and breathe love into the room because it's lighter. And I don't want to be lighter on the scales. I want to be lighter in my mind. I want to be lighter in my soul. It's the feeling of going to work and everyone's just scraping to keep the job and to keep hold of something and to get their little corner and to hold on to whatever they think they deserve. But the reality is, when we let go and just love, things get better. Every single time. Looking forwards, I know that that's the reality. Looking back, there's evidence. Looking forward, I have faith that love is the answer. Gosh, I sound like a preacher. This is not what it's meant to sound like. But from my heart to yours, that's what it feels like. The biggest impact that I could share with anybody right now is that.